Hello, everyone. As you can see outlined on this slide, we are happy to provide simultaneous interpretation to English, Spanish, and Portuguese today. Please press the globe button at the bottom of your computer screen and select your preferred language. In addition to simultaneous interpretation, during today's session, you have the option to view slides in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. If you would like to continue viewing slides in English, there's nothing you need to do on your end. If you would like to view the slide deck in Spanish or Portuguese, please move your cursor to the top of the screen and click on the arrow next to View Options under Shared Screens. Please select the language you would prefer to view the presentation in. If you have any difficulties accessing the audio or slides in your preferred language, please alert us in the chat or at dataalliance@bloomberg.org. On behalf of Bloomberg Philanthropies, I'm thrilled to welcome you all to this informational session on the Bloomberg Philanthropy City Data Alliance, a groundbreaking program that supports cities in transforming their data practices. My name is Florence Juilliard. I lead the Philanthropies data programs, and I've had the privilege of working closely with the first wave of 22 cities that are part of this initiative. Today, we'll cover 4 topics. First, you'll hear about what drove this opportunity, how the City Data Alliance came to be, and its core objectives. Next, my colleagues at the Bloomberg Center for Government Excellence and on the city support team will share some details about how the program is structured. Then we will share an overview of the application. And finally, we'll spend our time together responding to your questions in a Q&A. As questions come to mind for you throughout our time together, please feel free to submit them via the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen in the language of your choice. We will collect them to discuss together during the Q&A. The Bloomberg Philanthropy City Data Alliance will identify a total of 100 cities over 3 years from across North, Central, and South America that are the most sophisticated, ambitious, and advanced at harnessing data and help them to set a new standard for local governments committed to using data to power better results for residents. Before we dive further into program details, I wanted to briefly reflect on why this is so important to us and why we are so excited to see each of you here today. Bloomberg Philanthropies works to create better, longer lives for the greatest number of people. This means that much of our work in cities, more than 900 around the globe, for 3 big reasons. Number 1, more than half of the global population is affected by policies that are established by mayors and carried out by city leaders. Number 2, by 2050, that number will rise to 68%. And number 3, our funder, Mike Bloomberg, was a mayor, and he appreciates, uniquely among major philanthropists, the role cities can play in galvanizing people, talent, and big ideas to move the world forward. With these reasons in mind, our impetus to help cities leverage the power of data is why we're here today. Since 2015, we've helped more than 250 cities improve the way they use data and evidence, and the progress has been fantastic. For example, we have seen the share of cities monitoring and analyzing progress towards key goals jump from 30 to 75%. And we have seen city leaders make better decisions that are directly improving the lives of residents. Many of you know this firsthand. We have designed the Bloomberg Philanthropy City Data Alliance for those city leaders who are already committed to using data to improve lives, and as part of that commitment, now want to go to the next level. This program is founded on nearly a decade of experience improving data practices and building data capacity in cities, including our work creating a standard and path to data excellence through the What Works City certification, which many of you may be familiar with. You'll learn how certification and the City Data Alliance complement each other later. The City Data Alliance is a distinct program that was designed with 3 important lessons from our work in mind. Building a data culture requires the leadership of mayors and senior leaders to set a tone, expectations, and drive investments in skill building, data use, and practices. Data itself doesn't drive decisions, values do. Data is a powerful tool to drive values-driven goals and find solutions to the complex problems your city faces every day. Transformation is tough, but an approach that is focused on citywide data policies and practices can hardwire a new way of working in your city and lead to lasting change. The program is designed for mayors that have already demonstrated the capacity and commitment to using data to improve the lives of residents in their cities and want to ensure promising data practices go citywide. It is an opportunity for mayors and their senior teams to deepen the way cities use data to inform decisions, understand impact, and communicate results. Participating mayors and leaders embark on a journey with leading expert in data and evidence to lead confidently with data and understand their role in creating the conditions necessary for citywide adoption of data excellence, invest in the right people, practices, and platforms to drive change with a particular focus on a challenge that all cities face, building a robust data workforce, empowering residents and staff to contribute to problem solving, all with the end goal of building lasting change in cities and delivering positive impact for residents. With that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Amy Holmes, to share more on the program structure before we turn to your questions.
Thanks so much, Florence. Hello, everyone. My name is Amy Holmes, and I'm the Executive Director of the Bloomberg Center for Government Excellence. And thank you for joining us today. And I'm going to walk you through some important aspects of our program. The City Data Alliance is composed of an accelerator for mayors and senior leaders that is focused on delivering the core components necessary to transform the data culture in your city. The program also includes a data practice track, a deep dive into one of 4 critical data practice areas with subject experts to elevate your practice and make it sustainable at the citywide level. In addition, from the outset of our work with cities, we use the What Works City certification standard assessment to understand and advance your city's capabilities. For cities that are not certified when they begin the program, we encourage and support certification. I will start with the accelerator and then turn over to my colleagues to tell you more about the data practice tracks. The accelerator officially starts with the kickoff at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland. Mayors will participate in 3 days of activities with their peers and learn the role they have to play in creating a data-informed culture. Mayors will be introduced to the core concepts that will be covered during the 6-month accelerator and how to lead their teams to be successful during this time. As a core part of the 3 days, the mayor will develop the charge for what your city will tackle in the program and pass along to their senior team, including the program lead. So what are the outcomes you see listed here? By the end of the accelerator, your city will create or refine a citywide data strategy, which is a 3-year vision and actionable plan designed to advance your city's use of data to improve outcomes. It will cover the core components of data governance, quality, use, and transparency, and include what you see outlined here. A new or improved data workforce strategy that assesses the state of data skills and capacity in your city, identifies opportunities to upskill current city staff, and describes how you will use resources to attract and retain new talent. Also, a consistent standard for collecting and using disaggregated demographic data, and a new or improved centralized data platform which serves as a repository for city data that collects, stores, and validates data for real-time use by city leaders. All of this information is available to you, so you can learn all about all the things I just described on our additional resources page. And with that, I'd like to pause for a moment to see if anyone has any questions, specifically about the accelerator program that I just described. I'm not seeing any questions. So with that, we'll have another opportunity for questions at the end of the program. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Tiffany Davis, to tell you more about the data practice tracks. Tiffany, over to you.
Thank you, Amy. My name is Tiffany Davis, and I lead performance management. I'm delighted to share more information about the data practice track component of the City Data Alliance, and I want to thank all of my other City Data Alliance practice track colleagues who are here today. Essential parts of your citywide data strategy includes your work in one of 4 critical data practice areas that are necessary to achieve data excellence. The data practice track component of the program is designed to help your teams deepen city practices and create the necessary conditions to spread the practices of evaluation, procurement excellence, performance management, and data as a service citywide, rather than focusing these practices on specific projects. Each track is designed to support you to establish citywide policies or standards and consider the types of teams and capacity needed to sustain the practice. At a high level, these 4 practices are: data as a service led by Public Digital is for the most advanced cities to move from open data portals to a problem-based approach. This track will develop your city's data practices, policies, and people to enable a consistent way of designing and running high-quality end-to-end data services at scale that serve city teams and the public. In evaluation, led by the Behavioral Insights team, you will create a citywide evaluation strategy that helps you answer pressing questions and inform better policy decisions. You will also upskill an evaluation team to generate meaningful evidence and achieve stronger results. Performance management, led by my team at the Bloomberg Center for Government Excellence at Johns Hopkins University, is designed to help city leaders establish routines and processes to manage and measure their highest priority projects. And last, but certainly not least, procurement excellence, led by our colleagues at the Harvard Government Performance Lab, is designed to transform citywide procurement by adopting a strategic results-driven approach that saves time for city staff, encourages new and diverse vendors, and achieves better outcomes for contracted services. Again, a reminder that you can refer to track 1-pagers on the additional resources page of the website for this information. Before I go on, are there any quick questions that I can answer? Just want to give you a moment. All right, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to put in the chat and we'll answer during the Q&A session. So I'll now turn it over to Brooke Smith, a member of our City Data Alliance City Support Team, to share some details about the program timeline and application. Over to you, Brooke.
Thanks so much, Tiffany. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brooke, and I'm a member of the City Support Team, helping cities navigate the City Data Alliance program. As Tiffany mentioned, now we'll share a few details about the program timeline and eligibility. First, on program timeline, as a quick summary, the program will run from April 2023 to May 2024. The accelerator and the data practice tracks begin concurrently after the program's in-person kickoff in Baltimore. Depending on the data practice track that your city will participate in, the track will last up to 12 months. Next, on eligibility requirements, you've heard about what the program will offer. We'd like to share a little bit more about who we think is best positioned to benefit from it. This is a program that is designed for those cities who are already committed to using data to improve lives and now want to go to that next level. And in order to ensure sufficient runway to embed change, mayors should have at least 3 years left in their current term or be eligible and planning to seek re-election, and have a current term that lasts until May 2024. As a general guideline, we expect mid-sized and large cities in their respective regions to be the best fits for the program. And this is defined as a population of 100,000 or more in the US and Canada, and a population of 300,000 or more in Latin America. And then finally, we seek a firm commitment for the mayor to participate in this in-person convening in Baltimore, Maryland, which will take place at the beginning of the second quarter of 2023. No surrogates will be accepted to stand in for the mayor, so this is an important component of the program requirements. So before we share eligibility, details about the application itself, we'd love to pause here to see if you have any additional questions. So just from our Q&A chat, we had a question, which I think I just might have answered in the program, whether the mayor's attendance is required. But just to for the in-person convening. So the mayors will participate in a 3-day in-person convening in the US in Baltimore, Maryland, on the campus of Johns Hopkins University, and learn about the role that they have to play in creating a data-driven culture in their cities and a data-informed culture. This will be also an opportunity for the mayors to learn about the core concepts of the accelerator program that will take place over the 6-month period for their teams. And they'll learn ideas around how to lead their teams to be successful during the 6-month accelerator program. The mayors will also be exposed to different ways of adopting or strengthening a data-informed culture for your city, and to set a vision for applying data to your top priorities, and to share that with your senior teams. All senior teams from participating cities should expect to participate in the City Data Alliance Accelerator's high impact programming over the 6 months, covering 3 learning periods. And we'll go into more details on that later. But the mayor is required to participate in the program itself, in the convening itself. Let's see if we have other. Are the dates, another question around, are the dates of a 3-day in-person convening finalized yet? We will be communicating those dates to you as an interested participant in the weeks to come. We do know that they will likely fall in the first part of the 2nd quarter, likely in the month of May. And we'll be communicating those with you as soon as possible so that you can see if your mayor or if you're a mayor participating on this call, if you are indeed available at that time. Great. I think we have one more question around when would you need to declare a preference for a track. We're going to be going into more details about the track shortly. I think cities will learn more from track partners about what a city needs, what practices they'll need to have in place in order to be best suited to take advantage of that deep dive that Amy and Tiffany described earlier. And cities will be matched with a track that best meets their needs. You can expect that this process will begin during the orientation period once you've been accepted to the program, and will take place prior to program start in the 2nd quarter of 2023. Wonderful. So now let's just continue on, and there'll be more opportunities to ask questions, just to talk about a little bit more about the application process itself. So for the application, we've designed an application that's really focused on 2 major factors. One is a city's capacity to take on this work in a meaningful way, and a mayor's vision to make their government work better through data. More specifically, what we're looking for are cities that are already advanced in their data use, with practice in using data for decision making. For cities in the US, you may have proven this expertise through advanced work with What Works City certification, although this is not a requirement of the program. We're also looking for mayors and teams with a clear vision and commitment to transformational uses of data for leadership. This really includes a willingness to dedicate the time needed to set up lasting citywide systems and routines for data use. And to describe the application has 4 parts for each city to complete. One is a signed affirmation of program commitment. This is a summary of the commitments the program entails for the mayor, some of which we just discussed. Also commitments for the designated program lead, as well as senior team members who will participate along with the mayor and the CDA and the team lead. And there'll be a space for the mayor's signature to really sign on, consider those commitments, and sign on to the program. The second component is a mayoral video response. Mayors will answer 3 prompts, simple questions about why they want to participate in the program, how you think it will support your city to better the lives of residents, and why now is an important time to participate. Less important that this be a highly produced video. This could be used and filmed with an iPhone or any multimedia device. More important to give a sense for the vision that your mayor has for the program. The third component is a written application. This includes 6 questions about how your city uses data currently, where you feel your city's data practices are strong, also where they need to develop further, and how your city is currently investing in data and evidence, data evidence and capacity. You'll also, as we talked about before, be asked to rank your preference for a City Data Alliance data practice track. So that's one of the 4 deep dives that were described: performance management, procurement, evaluation, or data as a service, in your order of preference for your city's participation, and include a brief rationale for why you're ranking your choices as you are. And then lastly, you'll be asked to complete the What Works City certification self-assessment. The What Works City certification is a standard that sets an international standard of excellence in city governance. And the City Data Alliance is fully aligned with the What Works City certification standard. The self-assessment that accompanies that certification process allows you to compare your city's current data practices against best practice across 43 criteria. The goal of completing this assessment now is really for the City Data Alliance team to gather information about your city's data capacity so that we can better tailor the program experience to your need. So that completes the components of the application. And note that myself and the city support team will be available via email address at the City Data Alliance informational email. We're dropping that in the chat for you to answer ongoing questions about the application. So if you have any city-specific questions, we can address those offline, but happy to spend a few more minutes here for any immediate questions from the group. As a reminder, we have all partners represented here from the Accelerator program and the tracks present, and I invite partners to rejoin Zoom if you haven't already, so we can best answer your questions. And let's see what we've got. We've got one question. Could you please provide an example of practices that cities should already have in place for each track to be successful in the program? So let's get our track partners to answer that. And let's start with data as a service. Amanda, we'd love for you to talk about some practices that are helpful if they're already in place for this track work.
Thank you so much, Brooke. So for the data as a service track, our recommendation is that cities have got a few things in place. Firstly, you're going to have that ambition for and commitment to a significant transformation. You'll have a chief data officer or equivalent, such as a chief innovation officer in place, as well as a dedicated data and analytics team, and then potentially other specialists you could work with. You'll also have a strong track record of publishing and maintaining open data, and you'll be able to identify data sources that could address a clear city priority during our track together. And then finally, you'll be able to assemble a 4 to 5 person team who could lead different strands of the track and participate in workshops and masterclasses and user research, as well as some other activities to co-develop with us your data beacon service, your data service standard, your data standard toolkit, and a data community of practice. So happy to answer more questions, but I hope that gives you a sense of what we're looking for and recommend. I will pass on to our next partner, which will be, sorry, Micah, I think, for evaluation.
Thanks, Amanda. Our requirements are going to sound kind of similar to what Amanda laid out on the evaluation track. We're looking for cities where you've previously conducted evaluations in the past. These can look differently. You may have run a randomized controlled trial before, or maybe it's a process evaluation. We're really looking for times where you set out a research question and you use data to answer that question. And with that in mind, we're looking also for cities that have administrative data systems that they know capture resident data and that they think is reliable to answer research questions. We're also looking for cities that have at least 2 departments that are interested in evaluating a policy, a program, or service that they deliver, because we'll work on those in 2 different evaluation projects throughout the course of our track. And then lastly, similar to data as a service, we're also looking for a team and having a team of maybe 3 to 4 staff that's willing to build and a true evaluation team within the city. And we're looking for those staff members to have somewhere between 10 to 50% of their time as staff dedicated to the track. And how much time that is really going to vary both on the role that they play and then also what you're working on in the track, whether you're implementing an evaluation or maybe focusing more on the citywide data strategy that we're working on. And I will let Brooke, I'll let you pass it to the person who's after me.
Sure. Tiffany, you want to tell us about performance management practice?
Sure, thanks, Brooke. So for performance management track, we do ask that cities have a challenge that's really top of mind that you would like to solve using data by establishing those routine performance management habits. We also ask that cities have an intermediate level data infrastructure and data governance in place with some policies or standards for data collection, sharing, and also improving quality. Just like my colleagues just mentioned, we are also looking for a dedicated core project team to be a part of the process to really focus on implementing practices. We're looking for an analyst who will be available to collect, clean, and analyze data, and then also a leading subject matter expert based on the challenge area that you have selected. We also are looking for a performance or a data lead, and also a liaison between the mayor's office and someone to be a part of the core project team to liaise with the mayor and implement those citywide policies and processes. I'll turn it back over to you, Brooke.
Great. And Kate, it would be great to hear from you about procurement.
For sure. Thanks. So for cities to engage in the procurement track, we recommend that you have a vision for what needs to change regarding procurement and contracting, and a specific procurement or contracting challenge that you want help with. I'm sure no cities on the line have any problems here with procurement and contracting. So these challenges, it could be something like your procurement process is super slow, it's cumbersome, it's inefficient. It could be that you want better data on how your contracted services are performing, whether they're improving things for residents. It could be that you have challenges around vendor diversity or around how equitably services are delivered across your city. We're also happy to consult with you to sort of hone in this challenge. I'll also note that it's often helpful for cities that we work with to have a central procurement office or function that's helping drive forward this change. And then similar to the other tracks, a couple of departments that are interested in piloting new innovative procurement methods. So in this track, we would also ask that you pull together a cross-departmental team, something like 4 to 5 folks, who can work on your procurement challenge for 6 months for a few hours a week.
Thanks, Kate. We have another question in the chat around how many members should be included in the senior team that we've talked about. I first want to just reflect on a little bit what we heard from our data practice track partners. One, you heard many of you addressed the types of positions and the types of team composition that would be helpful for track work. In addition to the teams that were described by all the partners here, the senior team is really something that is a conversation between your city support team, your coaches, your team, your mayor, to identify the members of the team that will be the best fit for the program and support the design and the implementation of the citywide data strategy for the accelerator program. But in addition, this is also a conversation, as you just heard, with your track partners. And so the number of senior leaders, while it'll be tailored for your city structure, a lot of cities that participated in the first group that is currently in the City Data Alliance have selected around 3 to 4 senior leaders to participate, including a key member of the team that we call a City Data Alliance lead, who is a senior leader. It often could be a chief data officer or a chief innovation officer, but is flexible in terms of title, who will serve as your city's main point of contact throughout the program. And often that person will be both on the senior team that is moving through the accelerator program, as well as link to the track work to help coordinate across both bodies of work. I think all partners covered an idea of team composition in what you shared out, but did anyone not have a chance to cover that as specifically as they would like? I think everyone got a chance to do that. Great. We also had, I think, the question on who should plan to participate for each track. I do think this question probably preceded the answers you gave. The sub-question to it is, does it need to be the lead for a particular agency, or can it be a designee? I think you heard from some of our track partners for procurement, helpful to have a procurement officer. Does any track partner want to speak to if there is a absolute requirement for a head of agency to participate? Or if that remains a flexible conversation with each city? I think the latter. Or Kate,
Yeah,
go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say for procurement, I think it is, really helpful to have the head of procurement involved, but every city is set up a little bit differently. So we're happy to discuss that in consultation with individual cities.
Thank you. Great. So I'm just giving it a second more for any additional questions. If there's any part of your question you feel like we did not cover, we are available at the City Data Alliance email. I'll also maybe just review, we had the question about the mayor's requirement for the convening, but just also want to touch on a few other requirements for the mayor of each city. We've talked about this requirement of a senior team. So the mayor would have the responsibility of identifying both the senior team that would participate in the accelerator program, the specialized team for the data practice track, also this lead person to help coordinate the work across those two programs with the City Data Alliance lead. And then finally, if your city doesn't already have one, mayors will be asked to appoint an empowered senior leader in City Hall who is responsible for driving the citywide data strategy that your city will create or that your city will strengthen through the program. So this could be a chief data officer in most cases, but a senior leader that will help you not only create or strengthen the citywide data strategy that you have, but lead that change work through the program and beyond. Great. Well, now, if we have no other questions, I'd love to turn it back over to Florence to close us out.
Thanks, Brooke. So we're thrilled by your interest in the program and hope that this was informative, and will encourage you to consider if the City Data Alliance is right for your city and to apply. As a reminder, we will be hosting a panel discussion with representatives from the cities in our first group in the new year. So please tune into that to get firsthand experience of what it's like to be in the program. And there will be other Q&A sessions scheduled for team members to attend. If for any reason I do see some last minute questions coming in, we have not answered your question live, we will answer it via email. And the city support team members are going to stay on a little bit longer to answer, I think, some additional questions in case folks want to stay on. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that you will all apply now.
Great. We have a few other questions that we're just going to review now. One is, when will application results be shared with cities? So we'll be communicating with you throughout the process. We are receiving applications on a rolling basis. We will not be, any decisions will be announced next year after the application deadline officially closes, but we will keep you updated throughout the process. Another question on, my city is governed by a city council and city manager rather than a strong mayor. Can we still apply? And could the city manager participate in the mayor's place? Just on that note, cities with council manager forms of government are welcome to apply. However, the mayor would need to participate as a central member of the program and in the application process. It could not just be the city manager who participates in the mayor's place. If selected, the mayor would be expected to participate in the in-person kickoff meeting in Baltimore, Maryland, and in the additional programming, supporting the teams, appointing the teams, identifying the teams, and supporting them throughout the work. Additionally, we would encourage the city manager to serve, in this case, as one of the senior leaders in the City Data Alliance Accelerator program. And it's probably worth mentioning that in our first group of cities participating in the City Data Alliance, we have several cities with this structure that are excelling in the program. Another question about, if my city is already certified, do I need to complete the self-assessment? All cities must complete the self-assessment. However, cities who have been assessed very recently will be notified via email that they can forego that process and only complete any criteria that may not have already been completed. So you would have a very good running start depending on how recently you had completed that assessment. Great. So given the slowing down of questions, we will end the call, but again, invite you to ask us questions at the City Data Alliance email, dataalliance@bloomberg.org. And we encourage you to apply, to reach out to us with any questions you have about the application or any questions that you'd like to address on a one-on-one basis that are specific to your city. Thank you so much. Appreciate your participation and your interest.